lady. Sattvam no darshayatmanam asmat karana gocharam sasmitam te mukhambujam. Sattvam no darshayatmanam asmat karana gocharam sasmitam te mukhambujam. Saha, he, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tvam, you are my Lord. Naha, to us. Darshaya, be visible. Atmanam, in your original form. Asmat karana gocharam, appreciable by our direct senses, especially by our eyes. Prapannanam, we are all surrendered unto you. Didrukshunam, yet we wish to see you. Sasmitam, smiling. Te, your. Mukha ambujam, lotus-like face. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are surrendered unto you, yet we wish to see you. Please make your original form and smiling lotus face visible to our eyes and appreciable to our other senses. Purport. The devotees are always eager to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form with his smiling lotus-like face. They are not interested in experiencing the impersonal form. The Lord has both impersonal and personal features. The impersonalists have no idea of the personal feature of the Lord, but Lord Brahma and the members of his disciplic succession want to see the Lord in his personal form. Without a personal form, there can be no question of a smiling face, which is clearly indicated here by the words, Sasmitam te mukhambujam. Those who are in the Vaishnava Sampradaya of Brahma always want to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are eager to realize the Lord's personal feature, not the impersonal feature. As clearly stated here, Asmat Karana Gocharam, the personal feature of the Lord can be directly perceived by our senses. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. How many times and places, in how many places have we heard that we cannot perceive the Lord through our direct senses? Have we? Yes. Where have we heard it? Bhakti Shastri? Bhakti anywhere? Do you remember where? Rupa Goswami says, Atase Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyar. So it says Krishna's name, form, qualities, etc. cannot be perceived by the direct senses. And here Prabhupada writes, The personal feature of the Lord can be directly perceived by our senses. Rupa Goswami says cannot, Prabhupada says can. Is there a contradiction here? Do we have a problem here? Do you have a problem here? You do. Okay. What to do? What is the resolving idea? What is it that resolves this so-called seeming contradiction between Prabhupada saying and what Rupa Goswami is saying? What do you think, Marcel? It is quite contradictory. So how do we resolve it? Any ideas? Discussing it. Okay. Would you like to offer a point of discussion? You were quite bewildered by it. You learnt all the terms so nicely. I like it. The lexicon's already ready. I'm bewildered by it. Any ideas? Nitai Gaurahari, any ideas? Yes. Excellent. Senses are pure. How do senses become purified? English, please. Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam. By serving the master of the senses by our senses. So what Rupa Goswami says is Sevan Mukhehi. As soon as there is the element of service attitude, the blunt senses become purified. And one is able to perceive the Lord. So as long as the senses are blunt, here's the unbewildering point, Marcel. As long as the senses are blunt, they're blunted by sense gratification, one cannot perceive the Lord who's beyond the reach of the senses. But as soon as there is, beginning with the tongue, as soon as there is a service attitude, Sevan Mukha, there are two phrases that's important to learn. One is called Bahir Mukha. Bahir Mukha means our attention is outside our relationship with Krishna. And the other is called Sevan Mukha. Our disposition is of service to Krishna. And so as soon as there is service attitude, then Krishna can be perceived through our senses. And here, the one who's offering prayers is Lord Brahma, who's the head of the disciplic succession. So there's no doubt about his devotional or service attitude. And so he's saying that we would like to see your form. Somewhere else, in one of our Bhakti Shastri books, is a prayer to see the Lord. And don't want the impersonal feature. I want to see the personal feature. Ishopanishad, at least the book's right. Where in Ishopanishad? Verse number? N near somewhere near the end. Verse number? You know at least how it starts? English, roughly? Please remove your glaring effulgence so I can see your beautiful face. Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukham. Hiranmayena, this golden effulgence is covering your beautiful feature of your personality. Please remove it so I can see you. And this is the earnest request of a devotee. So we see that Lord Brahma's prayers are very much in line with the Upanishads. That's how our prayer should be. We cannot concoct our own prayer. It doesn't mean we don't get inspiration. Sometimes we get a little realization. We call it realization. And we want to know, is our realization right? Is it correct? Right? We all have that doubt. Is it a nice? Sometimes we say to some other devotee, I had this realization. I was very excited about it. And the senior devotee might say, don't speculate. Oh, I had this realization, and they're saying, don't speculate. And sometimes something very ordinary we say, and they say, very great realization. So the reason for, I guess, endorsing a particular realization is that when we have some realization, it is said, just like when you find a precious stone on the street, you have to hold it against the light of the sun to say, is this an authentic gemstone or is it a piece of glass? An authentic gemstone has certain characteristics. It is clear, there's no cloud inside, it has certain facets, etc. It shines in a certain way. And then you say, this is authentic. Correct? Similarly, you say whatever realizations we get, we hold it against the light of Shastra, against the light of Scripture. Suppose we get this realization that Krishna is actually this formless, gas-like substance that is all-pervading. And we come to the devotee and say, Krishna is all-present, he is everywhere, he doesn't have a form. Because he is everywhere, whatever realization. Krishna is light. I realized Krishna is this glaring light. Then someone will tell us, like in Prabhupada's story, in the early days. It was one of my favorite stories. Prabhupada held a nice kirtan for half an hour. And the young men and women were all dancing. And they all used to come from different yoga and vegetarianism, whatever different lines of inspiration they had. So one young woman, she was swooning throughout the kirtan. And when it was done, she told Prabhupada, Swamiji, I see red light. When I chant, I see red light. She thought she was realized. Prabhupada said, continue chanting, it will go away. Because that's not our realization. Krishna is some formless. Krishna is a full person. And Prabhupada writes, the devotees are always eager to see. Now, someone who's impersonal, there is no personality, there is no activity, there is no beauty, there is no wealth, strength, opulence, renunciation, none of these exist. Is it possible to deeply love such a person? If you had a friend, let's say, that we never saw, at least we see a friend, okay, let's start there. We see a friend, they have particular form and personality, and they were always like this, in happiness and in distress, when there's something to celebrate or no. When you ask them, let's do something, let's go for Harinam. Are you hungry? Are you sleepy? No reciprocity. You got something, you're happy to share with them, and their response is only, is it possible to have a friendship like this? It's very difficult. Because friendship means there's a relationship, there is some reciprocity, there is some one cares for the other, etc. We used to have one person, actually two persons, come from, I don't want to take a name, there's a yoga place not far from here. And they were impersonalists, they practice impersonalism. And this young lady and this other person would also come. And they would like to come here because the devotees would talk to them. But when they were in their ashram, their whole day was, they had 4 people living in the ashram, and they were told, each one take a corner, turn towards the corner, and no talking to each other. About half an hour a day, you come into the kitchen and you do some karma yoga. Chop some vegetables. That's karma yoga. For half an hour a day, you do satsang. That's bhakti yoga. You chant some bhajans. And the rest of the day, you sit in your corner And don't make the mistake of developing friendships, because you will become pegged to this world. Nice, huh? It doesn't make any sense. Because our innate nature is to have relationship. In fact, even in this modern context where we say relationships are breaking, people still have relationship. They have relationship with their phone. They have relationship with their car. They have a relationship with their something that belongs to them. Because it's a way of feeling complete or fulfilled and satisfied. In fact, even the impersonalists have a relationship with solitude. They want to be alone, quiet, and they don't want it to be that relationship to be disturbed. We have a relationship innately because Krishna is like that. He has a relationship with each and every one of us. And it is when we discuss and hear and see and touch and smell and see and whatever, all from our five senses, it enhances the relationship further. When we see the form of Krishna, when we see the form of, or hear and see and read, the form of Krishna in this way, a sound vibration. I mean, just the verses are so beautiful. Your lotus-like face. And he says, Asmat Karana Gocharam. This word Gochara, the word Go means senses. That's why we use the word Goswami or Swami. So Gochara means the roaming of the senses. Asmat Karana Gocharam. Asmat means our. Our senses, he's saying, they're always seeking satisfaction. And we would like our senses to be satisfied as they're roaming about you. Therefore, he's requesting, please give our senses their perfection. And the perfection of our senses is to be able to see you, hear about you or hear you, smell, touch and taste. Everything related to you. And before that he says, Sattvam darshayat manam asmat karana gocharam prapannanam. We are surrendered. And for those who are surrendered, they don't need to see the Lord. That's one of the qualities of a surrendered person, that they're not so interested in seeing the Lord. I'll tell you a pastime of Srila Prabhupada. This is from Mother Yamuna in her Vyasa Puja offering. His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj had written about it. And the title of the offering was Service and Silence. And she had trained all the other brahmacharis because she was an intimate servant of Prabhupada, that to serve the spiritual master means one should learn how to serve in silence. And the example she wrote about and spoke about is this. Her service was to clean Prabhupada's room. And Prabhupada was extremely picky about everything being clean, because he's so thorough. So when Prabhupada would go for morning walk, this was the usual, modus operandi. When Prabhupada would go for a walk in the morning, some of his female disciples would come to clean his room. And he was very particular how everything should be cleaned. And he would know if it was cleaned or not. So Yamuna Devi, she had cleaned Prabhupada's room very meticulously. Then Prabhupada came back. On his table was pictures of Bhaktisiddhanta and all the things that were needed for his table, and a flower pot, flower vase. And Prabhupada came, picked up the flower vase, and there was a rim of dust there. He said, it's not cleaned properly. So he was very particular. And sometimes while he was still there, they would come and clean some things and move things and go. And she was trained that when she was doing that, she should not talk to Prabhupada. Because most people wanted to be in the room with Prabhupada, ask a question, Srila Prabhupada, etc. And so she would say, that is our way of enjoying the spiritual master. So the idea was to serve in such a way that your presence is not felt anywhere, but you should still get everything done. Can I ask you a question? In the case of my spiritual master as well, many devotees, they like to drive him because he's captive audience. He cannot run away while they're driving, and so they can ask all their questions of him. But we were trained that when we drive, we don't talk. Just shut up. If he talks, you talk back. You respond back. That's it. If he doesn't talk, you don't talk. Because you're not there for chatting with him. You're there for a particular purpose. Just drive him from point A to point B, and that's it. So service and silence. However, in that silence, you get to appreciate the different characteristics of the person. So this whole idea of the senses, they feel very energized and satisfied when it comes to contact with someone very pure. Of course, Krishna is the ultimate pure. So Lord Brahma is praying for the perfection of the senses. And this is a very valid prayer too. We should pray. And he says, Sasmitam te mukham bojam. Smita means to smile. Sasmita means with a smile. Sasmitam te mukham bojam. Your face with a smile. Now Krishna's face is always smiling. When we come to speak about all our challenges to Krishna, his face is smiling. When we come and share with him happy things, his face is smiling. We are upset, but he's always smiling. Because it is said that Krishna's smile is a cure for the heart. Actually, it's described in the Vedas that Krishna's eyebrows are the shape of a bow. A bow. And what does a bow do? It shoots arrows. And the arrow that Krishna shoots is his loving glance. Because it comes from a very powerful bow. And those glances, that from that bow, what he shoots is the glance by which the lust in the heart is completely quenched or killed. Therefore, it's said that his ikshana, his glance, is considered the most calming and pleasing, because the restlessness from lust, Krishna says lust burns like fire. So fire is restless. So that restlessness from lust is taken care of by his loving glance. And then his why is Krishna's face compared to a lotus? It says lotus-like. Is Krishna's face shaped like this? Or during the day it opens up like that? What is it about a lotus? Any idea? Why lotus-like, Mukunda? Why is Krishna's face compared to lotus? Face. Yeah, it says Mukham Bhujam. Eyes are like lotus petals. That is true. So it's called Padma Nayana or Padma Lochana. But here it is saying lotus-like face. Why face? Lotus-like face. So lotus-like eyes, yes, because lotus petal is of a particular shape. But why lotus-like face? Why not rose-like face? Or what was that, mogra-like face? Why not carnation-like face? It's attractive. Carnations, they're also attractive. Or mum is attractive, yeah. Has some transcendental quality. Uh-huh. Okay. Any other little bit more specific? In our Hare Krishna movement, the word transcendental is like the answer for all questions, right? Transcendently beautiful. It is true. It is true. It is said that the lotus among all flowers is the most pleasing in its appearance. It's the most pleasing flower. No, rose is very fragrant, no doubt. Prabhupada's favorite flower is rose. But the lotus has a particular characteristic that it is very pleasing and calming. Something about a lotus. So it says lotus like, yeah. Cooling, thank you. Soothing, cooling. Mesmerizing, bewildering. Mesmerizing. It has a very magnetic effect. So it says, Sasmitam, with a smile. We'd like to see your smiling face, because that is the perfection of our life, our prayers, our existence. Because Krishna is beyond the sense perception, and Lord Brahma is asking, please give us that opportunity to get like the slight. He says, darshaya. We want darshan. So Lord Brahma is requesting on behalf of all of his followers, my dear Lord, please reveal yourself. Because although we are happy to serve you, and we know we are serving you, still our senses will become fully perfect and overjoyed and transcendently hyper-energized by seeing you, by seeing your smiling face. Okay, that's any questions or comments? Yeah.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj says that we should...
This purport?
No, not in this purport. Like, the prayers says that we want to see your face always. Like, and at the same time contradictory. Like, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says that we should do an activity such that Lord should see us. So, how it is?
Yeah. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would often say, don't be eager to see the Lord. Be eager to serve so that the Lord would want to see you. If you offer prayers like this and have the consciousness of Lord Brahma, then Krishna would like to see. If a person has, like many persons would come to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, can you show us God? And every time Prabhupada had a different answer for different people. Sometimes they would say, sure. Or have you seen God? An answer would be yes. Sometimes they would challenge, can you show us God? And he would say, even if I were to show you that this is God, how would you know that this is God? What is your frame of reference to know that this is God? Right? Or he would say, are you so qualified to see God? If I stand somewhere and say, I want to see the President of the United States, people would like, who are you? Why should you see the President? Right? So, are you so qualified to see God? So, the idea is, with a service attitude, then Krishna will reveal himself. Krishna says, I will reveal myself to those who have a service attitude and express that service attitude in loving service. So in that sense, it's the same prayer. Of course, they are praying, but they're not ordering Krishna. Show yourself up. They're requesting, please, if you so desire, please reveal yourself. That means Krishna can decide whether he wants to or he does not want to. When Lord Brahma took Mother Earth, who was in the form of a cow, and all the demigods to the milk ocean and prayed, the Lord didn't show. He didn't come. No one saw him. Right? Only Lord Brahma heard the message in his heart. I will come in my full feature as Krishna. Oh, thank you. They all bowed down to the milk ocean and walked away. So at that time they didn't see. Now they will see. Because here they're asking for a very specific request. It's coming up. Indra has lost his kingdom. He is without a throne. He is without a kingdom. He has no service to do. See, that is the agitation. Sometimes it feels like Indra is crying for a throne. Oh, I don't have my throne. I don't have any, I'm not sitting in Amravati. I'm not, with all the heavenly damsels dancing for me. That's not his problem. Those are all the perks with that service. But actually what Indra and all the demigods are worried about is that their service has been taken away by Bali Maharaj. Indra is, if he can't do his service, then the entire universe cannot get rain. Agni cannot give fire to the heat to the rest of the universe. Imagine how living entities will suffer if these people don't do their service. If Indra takes a vacation or a sick day and says, oh, today no rain, sorry. Living entities will die. So they're seeking service, their service to come back to them. And so they go to Lord Brahma, who's given them that service. And his only answer is, let's all go to Lord Vishnu. Only he can help. Yeah, Jordan.
How can we know if we're engaging our senses in Krishna consciousness, or
How can we know if you're engaging our senses in Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, 'cause sometimes, like honoring prasadam, for example, sometimes not doing it in the right consciousness, and then afterwards forget Krishna often.
Well, first of all,
often
congratulate yourself, because sometimes you're not, which means sometimes you are. What's important is the consciousness. Like you said it in your question. How do I know I'm engaging my senses in Krishna consciousness? Are we conscious of Krishna when we are doing what we are doing? Whether it's Harinam, going to a job, washing a pot, worshipping the deities, reading Prabhupada's books, eating prasadam. Are we conscious? We try to become conscious of Krishna. It's not the physical touch or contact necessarily, which is also when we are serving the deities or touching prasadam or Prabhupada's books or anything it is definitely transcendental. But more important is the mind. Hey, Subal Prabhu every morning recites, right? Bahujanma kare yadi shravana kirtana. One can be chanting and hearing for lifetimes, but if the mind is not present in it, that I'm doing this as a service to Krishna, na paye prema dhana, you won't get the real wealth. You'll get something because of the activity, but the real wealth. So we all are trying, we're all practicing to become aware and conscious of Krishna. The Prabhupada would sometimes say, first become conscious, then become Krishna conscious. First become conscious means that we are present in what we are doing. A lot of times our hands are moving, eyes are looking, but our mind is somewhere else. So from being spacemen and astronauts, we got to become being here in the moment of serving Krishna. It's usually floating somewhere. The mind is somewhere else, while the body is in one situation. Then we are not conscious, so we lose that, lose the value of that moment. One can be with a very pure saint or spiritual master and all that, but if one is not present, then that moment goes away and you have nothing to hold on to after that. Like, oh, that went away. Or Janmashtami or Rath Yatra or whatever festival. If it's just another thing, that we don't have anything from it to take and remember and keep. Because the mind is somewhere else. It's always traveling. Correct? Mind is very difficult. Talking of presence of mind, I'll tell you a couple of pastimes of Prabhupada that I heard from Badinarayan Maharaj. So this is in Mayapur. Prabhupada had a particular schedule of doing things. He would come give his class, and then he would walk down and then go up the stairs into his room. If you've seen in Mayapur where the Lotus building is, that's where Prabhupada's rooms are. So after class, he would go up the stairs into his room. And hundreds of devotees would gather. And they would all line up along the stairs leading to Prabhupada's rooms. So they could get to see Prabhupada, that Prabhupada would glance at them, they would give a flower or something. So among these hundreds and hundreds of disciples, and Prabhupada was traveling around the world, Prabhupada had more than 10,000 disciples. So to keep track of everyone's name and who they are, it's not easy. And once, if you don't see them every day, right? So Prabhupada one day finished class, he was walking up the stairs, and there was one devotee there. He told me the name, but I'm going to skip the name. And Prabhupada was walking up, they're all, Prabhupada, like that. He walked up to this devotee, took the edge of his kurta and touched it like this and walked away. 10 minutes later called the devotee, the manager of the place, and said, such and such is stealing from the temple. He's stealing money from the temple. Like, how did Prabhupada know? First of all, how did Prabhupada know his name? And how did Prabhupada catch that he's stealing from the temple? And they said, no, Prabhupada, he's, living in a very simple ashram room, does his service. Prabhupada said, he's stealing from the temple. So then they asked him, how do you know? Prabhupada said, last year, when I came, he was wearing a simple cotton kurta. This year, he's wearing silk kurta. He's upgraded. That means he's stealing money from the temple. In 1 year, Prabhupada remembered what he was wearing previous year. And so then they investigated. And they found out that this brahmachari, or whoever he was, his whole family was settled in Mayapur. And the temple was buying groceries, cement, potting soil, everything from his family members. And the prices were so high than what was available in the market. And he was getting a little kickback from all those transactions that the temple was making. And Prabhupada said he's stealing from the temple. Amazing, huh? How Prabhupada's way of connecting everything. Another he said was, this is in Vrindavan. You've seen Prabhupada, anyone who's gone to Vrindavan, you've seen Prabhupada's quarters behind Krishna Balaram temple, those are quarters. So Prabhupada, this was just inaugurated. Prabhupada's quarters were just opened for Prabhupada to come. Prabhupada came and sat. The place where Prabhupada would sit, there's a fireplace behind. You've seen the place? Prabhupada's quarters in Vrindavan, where people would chant and there's a bed for Prabhupada. There's a fireplace there. There's pictures of Kishore, Kishori there. Yeah. So Prabhupada would sit there. So as soon as he sat, the first time he sat, they're all like, oh, Prabhupada, Jayom Vishnupad Paramam. So they were reciting, everyone was bowing down. Badrinath Maharaj said, I was also bowing down, but I wanted to actually see what Prabhupada was doing at those moments. He was going to catch a glimpse of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was looking up like this. And as soon as they all got up, Prabhupada said, this construction is very bad. The contractor has cheated you. And They were waiting for him to say something very transcendental, right? It's like something profound. And the first words is, the contractor has cheated you. And Guru Das, who was the temple president, called him and blasted him. And so they were like, how did Prabhupada gauge from, and you know how when Prabhupada would come, everything would be painted, everything was clean and nice. And Prabhupada looked up and he said, up in the ceiling, you see a nail. And you can only see the head of the nail, that was so small. And by looking at the head of the nail, Prabhupada knew what kind of nail it was. And he said, this is an iron nail, which means it will rust. It means he sold you cheap quality nail, which means the way he has done the job is not proper. He has cheated you. This is Prabhupada's presence of mind. Sitting on the floor, 80-year-old man looked up, saw one head of a nail and told him, you've been cheated. So he was saying how Prabhupada was so present and knew as he would immediately grasp as things would come to his attention. And he told me the way Prabhupada negotiated the Fisher Mansion in Detroit. You know the Fisher Mansion? It's one of the most expensive places. You want to hear? Should we stop or no? You want to hear? You want to hear about Prabhupada? So it said Fisher Mansion. Prabhupada was invited to come, and Prabhupada saw the Fisher Mansion had everything laid in gold. The door handles were made of gold. The marble artwork or some woodwork had gold leafing done. The wood carvings were so intricate and so rare that someone said, if you cannot find a carpenter to redo any of these things. And so the guy, the real estate broker who was interacting with Prabhupada, because Prabhupada had come and Prabhupada wanted to buy, he said, oh, Your Excellency. He was calling Prabhupada, Your Excellency, Your Excellency. And Prabhupada had told them, because he's saying Your Excellency so many times, he's cheating us. Because those who are cheating, they tend to dab you a little extra in flattery. So Prabhupada would always say, those who flatter you are not your friends. So he was, Your Excellency, Your Excellency. So Prabhupada saw the whole place. He gave him a tour, looked at it. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Then they sat down. And this guy was, Your Excellency. And Prabhupada said, this place is beautiful. Everything looks very ornate. And it is exactly the kind of place we want. So the person was thinking, wow, they want it, so naturally they'll pay a good price for it. And then immediately Prabhupada turned to, you see me, we are all devotees of Krishna, which means we are just beggars. So you should give this place to us. No negotiation, no price. He said, you should just give it to us. The guy literally fell off his chair because the asking price was $3 million. And Prabhupada said, you should give it to us. So the guy was caught so off guard. Apparently he started mumbling, the Swami Excellency. He didn't know what to say because his head was reeling with such a term of negotiation. Give it to us. So they went back and forth. So they had to raise $70,000 or $80,000. And the money wasn't there yet. It had taken a few days for the money to come. So Prabhupada did not quote any price. He just said, you should give it to us. A few days later, when the money was, they could only raise 70,000 or something because Ambarish Prabhu could only bring it that much. Prabhupada said, listen, we'll give you cash, $70,000 right now, and we'll take the building. And the guy thought, okay, at least he was asking to give away for free $70,000 or something. Cash is better than anything else. He said, yes. And immediately Prabhupada signed the deal. Everything was locked. The guy didn't know what hit him. And he went away. So on the day of closing, when the property had to be turned over to the devotees, the owner of Fisher Mansion had a truck standing outside the gate, and his people were stripping the building of the gold handles and this and all the wood carving, because the owner felt cheated, or he felt like his broker cut him a very raw deal at 70,000. So they wanted just to leave the structure and take away all the decorations from inside. Luckily, the devotees didn't know. The neighbor from across this, that neighbor called and said, "Hey, this previous owner is taking stuff away." So suddenly then they called Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "Stop him immediately." And they told him, "You can't take this stuff. You've sold it, you can't take it." And so they kept the things back, and the guy was sent away. So that's Prabhupada's. And then later they told Prabhupada, "You've got a fantastic deal." And Prabhupada laughed and said, "I am a Calcutta boy. I know the art of negotiation." That was Prabhupada's negotiation. "You should give it to us, $3 million worth of property." Very amazing personality. Anyway. You have something to say about the Fisher Mansion?
It was 300,000. And they got half from Ford and half from Walter Reuther's daughter, somewhere like that. I think Ford gave a little more money. But then that Your Excellency, Prabhupada, that story was also in the
Lilamrita.
yeah, and it was about the guy that came for a down payment, and Brahmananda gave him $5,000, and Prabhupada said he was an overbearing, with flattery. But that was a book transaction or property. But it's in the Lilamrita there. And
That one is in Lilamrita. This one too, he was narrating that when he was saying, Your Excellency, Prabhupada was suspicious of his intentions. Motives.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story of Ambarish as well, Ambarish Prabhu. So I'm going to skip for now. Anything
Hare
else?
Krishna.
Okay. You have something, Marcel? Okay. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.